Some of the testimony in day 20 of the Lindsay Clancy trial was extremely hard to listen to. I want to give you that warning up front, and I will give you another warning before we get to that part of the testimony. Here's your day 20 recap. This morning, the Commonwealth wrapped up their direct examination of their expert rebuttal witness, Dr. Kirk Heilbrun. He maintains that although Lindsay was severely mentally ill on January 24, 2023, it is his opinion that she is criminally responsible for taking the lives of Cora, Dawson, and Callan Clancy. After direct examination concluded, it was time for cross-examination. Attorney Reddington focused heavily on the fact that Halbrin did not evaluate Lindsay until more than 3 years after the day that this crime occurred. Halbrin acknowledged that sooner is generally better when evaluating someone's mental state at the time of an offense, but he said that the unusually extensive records in this case did help him. Reddington also established that Halbrin has not published specifically on postpartum psychosis. Halbrin did agree with a number of points that seemed favorable to the defense. Those included that Lindsay was severely depressed, she had symptoms consistent with postpartum depression, she experienced significant mental illness, she had adverse reactions to some psychiatric medications, and she was trying to get help. He also agreed that psychological testing did not show that Lindsay was malingering or exaggerating her symptoms. They also spoke about Patrick's 911 call. Halbrin relied in part on Patrick's account that Lindsay told him, quote, "I tried to kill myself," and that the children were in the basement. Reddington asked whether Halbrin had actually listened to the 911 call, and he confirmed that he had not. Reddington told him that Lindsay essentially could only be heard making grunting sounds during portions of that interaction. Halbrin said that that would surprise him. Despite those concessions, he did not change his ultimate opinion. He believes that Lindsay's depression and hopelessness contributed to what happened, but that she still retained the ability to decide whether, when, and how to act. On redirect, he also emphasized that experiencing psychosis or dissociation does not automatically mean that someone is unable to control their actions. After lunch, the Commonwealth called what is expected to be their final rebuttal witness, forensic psychiatrist Dr. Gregory Saathoff. Now, I want you to know that some of the testimony we're going to recap from him is very hard to hear, and it goes through what Lindsay specifically said about the sequence of taking the children's lives, so please know that ahead of time. Sathoff has worked with the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit and has treated thousands of patients experiencing psychosis. He evaluated Lindsay over 2 lengthy Zoom interviews this year, and he also reviewed extensive medical, psychiatric, investigative, and expert records. A major focus of his testimony was the male voice that Lindsay says commanded her to take her children's lives and then her own. Sathoff said that Lindsay described this voice as extremely clear, male, external to her head, and repeating continuously until after she had strangled Callan. She told him that this was the first auditory hallucination she had ever experienced, and that once it stopped, it never returned. Sathoff said that pattern was highly unusual. In his experience, it is not typical for someone to experience a first-ever command hallucination, immediately obey it, have no accompanying delusion, and then never hear the voice again. He also pointed out inconsistencies in Lindsay's different accounts. Lindsay told Sathoff that she was standing near the refrigerator preparing chicken nuggets when the voice began. Patrick previously testified that Dawson was already eating chicken nuggets when he left the home. There were also differences in what she told who. Sathoff testified that the timing Lindsay gave him did not match the account that she gave Dr. Spinelli. He said that matters because the alleged voice is central to determining if she was psychotic at the time. Sathoff then discussed the errands that Patrick ran that evening. He said Lindsay's account made it sound as though the idea of 3V takeout developed naturally between the couple. But when Sathoff reviewed the digital evidence, he said Lindsay had already researched 3V and the distance from the home before she suggested it. Patrick also told him that they had never previously gotten takeout from that restaurant. Sathoff also focused on the CVS stop for Miralax, saying that adding that errand increased the amount of time that Patrick would be away from the home. Then there was another piece, the piece about the crushed up medication. When Lindsay described to Sathoff what she did after taking the children's lives, Sathoff said that she omitted crushing the pills. He said Patrick had described finding a tumbler near the bed containing powdered medication. Lindsay told Sathoff she had lemonade, while Patrick told him there was no lemonade in the house. Sathoff said lemonade being in that cup would make sense because of the bitterness of the crushed medication. He then made the point that crushing pills into a fine powder is not an effortless act. He included that, along with the other actions upstairs, in his assessment that Lindsay was engaging in sequential decision-making. When the prosecutor asked whether Lindsay herself gave Sathoff information about how she took the pills, his answer was essentially no. She told him that she took pills in order to overdose, but she did not include in the sequence she described to him that she had crushed them up. Sathoff also began addressing Lindsay's description of bringing each child downstairs to the basement. I want to give you one final warning that we're about to talk about what happened to the children in detail. According to this witness, according to what he says was Lindsay's account of what happened. If you don't want to hear those details, I completely understand. Please scroll away from this video now. According to Sathoff, Lindsay told him that Dawson was first. She said she brought him downstairs and strangled him in Patrick's basement office. She then went back upstairs for Cora, brought her downstairs, and strangled her in a different area of the basement. Callan was last. Lindsay told Sathoff she returned upstairs again, brought Callan downstairs, and strangled him after the other two children. Sathoff noted that Lindsay could not remember exactly how she convinced Dawson or Cora to go downstairs, or whether either child resisted. He pushed back on Dr. Resnick's description of Lindsay acting almost like a puppet. He made the point that the children themselves were not puppets. They were active children who could move, react, and make choices, and Lindsay still had to navigate bringing each of them downstairs separately. That is where testimony ended for the day. Sathoff will be back on the witness stand tomorrow. Testimony is expected to be over tomorrow, and as of now, closing arguments are expected to begin on Thursday. Let me know your thoughts on day 20. I'll be back with a day 21 recap once the trial day wraps up tomorrow. And until then, and most importantly, rest in peace to Cora, Dawson, and Callan Clancy.